Ladies and gentlemen, the world's worst map just got a lot worse. Today I present to you Tranzit in third person, and let me tell you, this experience sucked. The other day I was toying around with some mods for Black Ops 2 and I discovered that you can play Tranzit in third person. So I said to myself, fuck it, let's give this a try and see how long we can survive. The first thing you'll notice when you're playing Tranzit in third person is there is no reticle. This means that aiming is a complete shit show. You have no idea where you are aiming, you're just kind of winging it. And over time, I slowly got a sense of where I was aiming and where I would hit and where it was going, but it definitely wasn't easy. I mean, most of the time I found myself just wasting ammo every time I shot, and this actually, what I noticed, brought up two bigger issues. The first issue was that there was no hold X indicators. So this includes when I'm rebuilding windows, which I did a lot when I'm on the bus, as well as just like picking up parts. You also can't have the sign to buy doors, there is no sign to build stuff, and there is no like hold X to reload button, nothing like that. And let me tell you, reloading is actually something I messed up quite frequently when I was playing in third person. Something about it, like when you see it in first person, you know when it's done, and you also know when you can reload cancel to shorten your reload. But in third person, you can't really see that. You can't see the animation happening. So you just kind of have to guess at when it's done or wait for your ammo count to fill up. And as somebody who's used to reloading, which is just when you sprint right before the animation ends in order to save yourself time, doing that in third person just kind of kept screwing up the process, and I would end it too early. Something about it just felt really slow in third person, so missing that reticle was a lot more of a problem than I expected. It also was quite difficult when I was knifing. In fact, I found that I would often die in the early rounds just because you don't have jugs, so you're obviously vulnerable to two hits and double swipes. So when you're knifing, and knifing just feels so awkward in third person, you're bound to screw up. I never really felt secure knifing in this game. Really, close quarters combat in this game just always felt off. Not to mention when you're fighting the Avogadro, which requires you to knife him, then it's a pain in the ass. I found this actually particularly difficult, and was one of the reasons I went down, is because I was dealing with the Avogadro, and you really got to get up close and personal to him and then pull off the knife. Not as easy as I was expecting. Those were kind of like the two big issues I noticed immediately. Not having that reticle was a lot harder than I thought, and aiming was never as straightforward. I will say though, there are some positives to playing in third person that I actually kind of liked. First off, if you're JC and you're obsessed with Misty, well then you get to watch that ass all game. Unless you're playing as Russman, Marlton, or Stuhlinger, then you might have a problem. In addition to that, I also found it really nice to be able to watch your back at all times. In zombies, when you're walking backwards, you're most likely gonna die. It's a fatal mistake. Only walk backwards when you feel absolutely confident. But in third person, you get a 360 view essentially at all times. So you're able to not only watch your front, but watch your back at the same time. And the idea of zombies sneaking up on you is no longer a thing. That's a nice change. I also will say the denizens were super easy to kill. I mean, so you get to continue moving forward, which is a nice plus, while still being able to watch out for denizens. In the past, when you're playing just a normal game in first person, you might walk backwards to see a denizen coming up on you, but something about being able to both move forward and also look in any possible direction was really nice. And then once a denizen gets close, you can quickly switch your perspective and then shoot it. And then in addition to that, you can also generally just shoot up in the air and it kills the denizens. For whatever reason, once they're attacking you, they have a massive hitbox. So you can see a denizen's coming, quickly look up, pop off a few shots, and then boom, they are dead. That's really all I have to say about playing in third person. That is a nice thing to say about it. COD is definitely not optimized for third person, and this is a no-brainer. COD is a first-person shooter first and foremost. Every so often it dabbles in third person, but very rarely, and this makes sense that the game doesn't optimize for third person. The movement just never felt right though. I mean, you can see in this instant right here, I tried to climb onto the bus, and boy, did I really struggle to get on the bus. In fact, I had just barely made it on. And jumps like that, where say you're jumping onto a moving object, are particularly difficult, and everything just generally felt clunkier. For example, trying to climb onto the bus using the ladder, that was difficult. I found myself falling off that a few times. And once I eventually figured out what I need to do, which is basically look as vertical as possible, because that's technically what you're doing as you're climbing the ladder in first person, your perspective is just locked, then it was a lot easier. But it's not as intuitive as you might think in third person. One of the saving graces to Transit, in my opinion, is the bus. Actually, some of the most fun I've had on Transit is basically when I play a challenge where you can't leave the bus, or you can leave the bus when it reaches a stop, but as soon as the bus leaves, you have to get back on or you fail the challenge. I find surviving and defending the bus to be one of the best ways to play Transit, and it takes what is typically an unbearable map and makes it bearable. Well, third person completely ruins that challenge. Remember when I said that aiming was really difficult, as well as not being able to rebuild windows as efficiently as I'd like, because there is no hold X to rebuild windows, you just kind of have to guess when you're close to the windows? Well, yeah, that's really difficult when you're riding the bus. I mean, the bus has 10 windows you need to defend. In the later round, you're going to have zombies climbing in through every single window. Good luck running to them and picking off zombies. In fact, in some ways, it's almost overwhelming, because in third person, you can see more than you normally could. You can see multiple windows at once, but in a way, you feel helpless because there's nothing you can do to pick off all those zombies at once. There's just way too many. And sometimes I got lucky with drops when I was riding the bus. I definitely wasted a lot of ammo just killing individual zombies. In fact, it's kind of the best way to do it, because you can't really aim that well and it's such a confined space, is to just spray and pray. And it was particularly scary when you don't have Juggernog. Distance is hard to judge. In third person, it's really easy to get two swiped. Overall, I don't recommend you try defending the bus, and this is why I say it takes one of the worst maps in zombies and makes it even worse, because Transit already has its full lot of frustrations, and in my opinion, takes away one of the best ways to play the map. Defending the bus just doesn't feel right in third person. Once I got the groove of third person though, everything pretty much felt alright though. Like, I was able to train in the town without too many issues, although I did go down at one point. I was able to train in the tunnels as well. I definitely would have felt more secure in first person, but everything was doable. I actually ended up dying at around round 15, and this is because I was a little bit too ambitious and a little too adventurous. I wanted to pack a punch, so I was traveling to get a new turbine, and I left for that new turbine mid-round. That was a bad idea, especially because defending the bus is so difficult. I should have done it the proper way and just waited until I had a crawler and then went to go grab a new turbine, but that just isn't as fun. And ultimately, this comes down to a problem with Transit's design, where other maps that have a much simpler pack-a-punch I would have been able to pull off just fine, but because I had to go on the bus and then make another loop just to pack-a-punch, well, then I'm just kind of screwed to the rules of the map. I definitely could have survived if I was a lot more conservative, and if I had went when I had one zombie left instead of 10, it would have been easy. That was just dumb of me. Overall, though, I say it was an interesting experience. It's not the best way to play zombies, but it is a way to play zombies, I guess. You can definitely do it. And I would say it makes Transit worse to play. The only real reason you'd ever do something like this on a map like Transit is purely just for the novelty. The map is already annoying enough, and on top of that, add an inability to properly aim at zombies, and you're screwed. I mean, I've tried lining up shots and taking the time to really get the most out of my bullets on this map, and it just does not work. Third person is not the way to play zombies. I mean, if it was a little bit more optimized and you had a reticle, then it'd be a lot easier, and maybe the zombies are just slightly slower to hit you so that you have time to properly put yourself in a position to succeed, then it'd be a lot better. But this game wasn't meant for third person. I am really just using mod tools to be able to pull something like this off. Anyway, What do you guys think about this? Have you guys ever played zombies in third person? Have you guys ever toyed around with the mods on Black Ops 2? There are actually some interesting options, including ways you can spawn unique things in, as well as different kinds of modes like super jumps and low gravity. And maybe I could do more maps or more videos like this where I play around with some of those cool modes and you guys can see what that is like. Anyway, I'd like to know what you guys think. Be sure to leave a comment, maybe subscribe for more. I'm always covering zombies, so if you enjoyed this video, I'm sure you'll enjoy the next one. Have a fantastic day, and bye.